heightened reality just as that hit record. Guys, we've got Thomas Sainsbury here on the Luke Farr Show. Absolute pleasure, Tom, for you to join the show to motivate, educate, and inspire our next generation of leaders. Thank you for coming on, Tom.
My absolute pleasure. Thanks for having me.
It is an absolute pleasure. First and foremost, would you prefer to be referred to as Thomas or Tom's fine? Or T?
Good question. Tom is how everyone calls me. I was Thomas until I left home, so 17, and then I chose to call myself Tom. But now I'm like, damn it, I should have started with Thomas. Thomas is more unique.
It's longer. It's more exhaustive for the breath.
It is.
T's good too, but I mean, yeah, look, everyone's got their preferences. Hey, let's track into it. So you completed a BA, effectively at Auckland University, majoring in English, literature, and theatre. You became involved heavily as a writer, director, and performer for university productions and the underground theatre scene. After graduating, you formed Fingerprints and Teeth Productions, a theatre company for which you wrote and produced several plays, becoming a powerhouse of creativity, one might say. These aren't my words, by the way, straight off Google, but nonetheless still effective. Writing, performing, and directing countless plays. But you grew up in Matamata. What on earth? Run me through that. What was childhood like in Matamata? City of dreams.
It was kind of like, I think, like there's no trauma from it. I quite enjoyed myself. So I grew up there is trauma. I guess there's trauma growing up on a dairy farm. I grew kind of like the brutality of kind of farm life. And so I've been a vegetarian ever since. But in terms of this small town, like there were so many, for a theatrical kid like me, there were opportunities. So I did like school shows. There was always Am Jam productions and stuff like that. So I always had my kind of people and very eccentric, like, honestly, small town Amdram societies are just heaven for interesting, kooky characters.
Yeah, so absolutely.
I had that. I had a great time, and it was like me. I was like playing, because they cobble together these casts, and here I am playing a 30-year-old as a 15 playing a 30-year-old, and my best friend character is like a 45-year-old playing a 30-year-old. So it's like just ridiculous.
Was it not? Yeah, good feedback there. Was it not traumatic enough growing up in Matamata alone?
No, surprisingly not. I liked it. I had like in hindsight, I had a great time, but obviously I missed out on, there's limited opportunities to do things. But I quickly learned to rely on myself for entertainment and stuff.
Yeah, nice. Obviously a very rural community there. You mentioned dairy farming. Was there a huge element of you having a lot of time like on your own because you're so isolated? And is that where the sort of passion and inspiration came from to sort of get to the books and start sort of writing and getting poetic or whatever you'd like to call it? But was it a sort of a sense of, hey, I've got a lot of free time and I'm going to use, or you honed in and found a skill of yours and therefore developed that?
Yeah, good call. I think so. Like, I would just go for hours on end, just walking around the farm by myself, just kind of telling myself stories or kind of plotting stories. Then, as I do now, I struggle like putting pen to paper.
What type of stories were you telling yourself in the farm? And the stories are a little bit dissimilar now to when you're walking around Ponsonby? Drawing inspiration from certain things.
Yeah, well, it's interesting that, like, I unfortunately, there is something around artists being so influenced by their childhood. Like, now my stories are, like, some of the kind of characters I came across in my childhood are still with me now, and I still kind of perform them. But then it would have been, the stories that I did then would have been just, like, I would have watched Star Wars and loved it, and then I just basically ripped off Star Wars in my mind and came up, or kind of took R2D2 and made a story just about him. Do you know what I mean? Like there wasn't that much originality going on.
Right. Gotcha. Very good. I mean, for the youth out there, you grew up in Matamata, the very rural community, but for the youth out there that are sort of what would be looking to you as an inspiration to follow your footsteps, I mean, you've done a range of things. What would your key advice be for them?
For young people, I think it's look, just some real practical advice. And I remember this guy coming to talk to us when we were 11 and 12 at Matamata Intermediate. And he was the big CEO of McDonald's at the time. So I don't know if you want to use him as like an idol, but he gave me this great life lesson that I've used to this day. And it's like, unfortunately in life, you have to do tasks or you have to do jobs and you have to do things like that suck and it's not really aligned with what you want to do. And a really good way, he had to clean out some big drums, I remember. That was his first job that he ever got. And you could shy away from that, or you can really break it down into tiny little achievements. And I'm all about breaking it down into tiny little goals. So if you've got a huge goal, breaking it down into little goals really works. So what he did was he was like, I'm going to quit, but first of all, I'm just going to do one drum, and then I'm going to have a cigarette. So he cleaned one drum for an hour or something, and then he had a cigarette. And he's like, okay, that's not too bad. I'll do 2 drums and then I'll quit. And he got through, before he knew it, he'd like gone through 2 packets of cigarettes and he'd kind of cleaned all the drums. And I just think...
Dunny Blues or Rollies?
Yeah, probably. I think probably Rollies, let's face it. But there was just something about him looking at that gargantuan task of all those drums to clean, and he just broke it down. And I think if you do have a big task, like if you're in the arts and you want to put on a show, or you want to have an exhibition of something, or if you want to be big into sports or something, just think about what's the first little goal that you can achieve and just aim to finish that. Kind of know what the big picture is in the long run, but just focus on the little goal. That's my big advice. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does. Yeah, it does. And Jordan Peterson, fantastic psychologist from Toronto, he talks about that. It's the small things. Waking up in the morning, as simple as making your bed, getting your room clean.
Yes.
Even doing the pre-prep meals, just those small things which then grow it, because it does something in your brain. There's some form of chemical that's released about that classic tick list, done that, cool, move on, and then
100%.
Grow that organically. Hey, question around the CEO of McDonald's. Was he awfully inspired himself, speaking to a school of probably, 80 pupils in Matamata?
Was he inspired by us?
Well, yeah, but being at a very sort of very highbrow school of 80 attendees at the time,
yes.
Was that last on his roadshow of touring schools, or was it his first? Was it his debut?
Good question. I think what it was that there was some kind of guilt tripping from, like, maybe his sister worked in the staff or something. I think it was more of rather than being on his list, it was just like, I have to do this to keep my sister happy. I think it was that. I think it was that kind of thing. I think
you're right there. Either that or he lost paper, scissors, rock. Like, hey, if you lose this, you're going to speak at Matamata school. And he would have lost the first round, but then he would have said, if he's any former negotiator or CEO, he said, round of 3, best out of 3. Surely. Yes. That's good. Hey, told you won Playmakers Young Playwright of the Year 4 times, actually, not just once. You've been a finalist for the Bruce Mason Award and the Playmarket New Play Award. What types of doors did those accolades open for you?
I think, just as a side note, like the first time I won that award, no one else entered. So it sounds really good, and it's just good to know that sometimes you've got no competition, or maybe one person entered and they got runner-up. So, right. So if an opportunity arises, who knows? Sometimes no one else is entering. Do they open up doors? Oh, definitely. And it's all kind of smoke and mirrors in this world. Like the fact that you've got those accolades, people don't know what the show is. People don't know how good you are at writing, but suddenly you've got like a little bit of a title or an award to your name. People are probably going to take you slightly more seriously. But all these things do is get you to the next step along the way. Like nothing kind of, there's no kind of, in my experience, there's no you've suddenly made it. It's just the next thing leads on to the next thing. So I think like winning those awards might have given me a little bit of funding to do a show. And then that show, I would have got more money because someone saw it, come and watched it. So it's like little incremental growth. Yeah.
Yeah. That's a good point. There's a trend emerging there. Those incremental tick boxes along the way to something larger. Like, did you always at high school and through uni, did you always have this vision in your mind from then? Hey, look, I want to be on TV, or I want to be writing plays and producing. Or like, was there a clear set vision, or was it almost that you just organically followed your passion and you cracked certain things and then it just grew organically from there, or how have you sort of navigated your success?
That's a really good call. I think I've just kind of followed my interest. It's like I have just followed my passions. So I kind of knew the kind of area that I wanted to be involved with, and I just kind of took whatever opportunities came my way, kind of in drama, writing, television, getting an agent and things like that. So none of it was kind of premeditated, but yeah, because I know there's something about really having a specific goal and then working exactly towards it. Mine was more kind of here's a vague destination, just take what opportunities come to vaguely get into that area.
Gotcha. So small analogy. You've got boarded a flight to LA, but you've rolled up to the pilot and said, "Do you mind just fanging past Fiji here, if you don't mind?"
You got it.
Perfect. Yeah, that's nice.
Take a detour to Hawaii and then go to Tokyo by accident and then head over to LA. Yeah.
And then I'm gonna skydive down from here, if you don't mind, because I'm in the mood right now. Because I feel like I'm in the mood for it. Did you ever want to, speak into the US, did you ever try or have been inspired to crack that US market? With the big boys?
It was all kind of gung-ho before 2019. Me and my friend went over and just had all these meetings with writing kind of producers and things like that. And then COVID kind of hit, and so it's still in the pipeline. Hopefully, 2022. I'm really enthusiastic about the idea and terrified, but I feel like in my lifetime I will die happy if I just spend some time trying to work in LA.
Yeah, that's a good. I like that, because I mean what that says to me is that you're willing to feel the fear and do it anyway, and get comfortable feeling uncomfortable. And it's around going, hey, look, that is the biggest market, and if I don't give it a go, it's like that classic line from Michael Jordan, you miss the shots you don't take type thing.
Yes,
very true. Hey, but just in regards to, because I know you were on Shortland Street and things like that for a little bit there, was that just a sort of, hey, look, was that just a paycheck to you, or were you generally going down the acting path, or was that, run me through that, because I mean you've really sort of navigated away from that classic on-screen acting and become a full-fledged sort of online comic. But what were the stepping stones around that? Was that the classic, I'll just get dropped off in Hawaii but I'm heading to LA scenario, or?
I think the Shortland Street thing was that I had friends working there, and the part was offered to me, and it was not premeditated in terms of like, what is this doing for my career? It was more like a fun experience to do. Playing a psycho on a soap opera is just like, what an amazing experience. So for that, it's just because I guess I am an experience junkie, and so it wasn't premeditated. It was quite a small stint. Like I only did probably a total of 3 months in total, spread over 3 years. And it was just purely for enjoyment, for the laugh.
Yeah. I mean, sadly, I've never engaged with Shortland Street, but I hear it gets numerous awards. But what was your role like? Did you feel as though you nailed the psycho part really well? And then the next question is, why do you think you nailed the psycho part so well? Was there any form of organicness out of you that plays just a very good psycho?
Well, really good question. It's actually the opposite. So the first time I was meant to be a lot more scary, but the feedback was, so I did it in 3 installments. And each time I came back, my character was more ridiculous and more humorous. And I think the feedback from my first stint is being a psycho, and I tried my hardest to be a psycho, but people said I just kind of walked on set and people started laughing at me. So I think there's something inherently funny around me. So I actually failed at being a good psycho.
Very good. You do like a lot of boomer skits, which I do want to touch on, and very well, I might add. You play it so well. Do you ever think like maybe karma might come and bite you in the ass, and you'll become the actor of your skits later down the line?
100%. I feel like when I look at that character, I'm like, that's my dad. And then I say things like, sometimes I catch myself saying things, I'm like, that's my dad. And I'm turning into my dad. And it's look, I feel like there's.
It's almost like you're not, sorry to interrupt, but it's almost like you're not acting. Just comes so naturally to you because that is the person you're eventually going to become.
Well, I've been researching him for, decades and decades. And so I guess it's just it's pre-warning me about my future. But I feel like he has a good time. So I guess I'm not too scared about becoming boomer dad.
Yeah, no, that's good.
I'm sorry.
But between you flexing your biceps just then, but also just a quick sideline question: are you wearing a onesie? Just for the audience that are curious.
Am I wearing a onesie?
Yeah. Is that a onesie?
I love that you asked that. I'm wearing a t-shirt that says "I'd rather be in the shed." Very boomer.
Is it XXL or?
It is XXL. You got it.
Very long on the sleeves there. That's why I thought it was a onesie.
Well, it's funny because I chose to wear shorts the same colour, so essentially it could be a onesie. It's just not attached.
Right. Okay. Perfect. Yeah. I'm not sure about you. I'm glad we can't see the shorts. But anyway, let's talk about from like Dave Chappelle, some of the big comics out there, Seinfeld, Jimmy Carr, you name it, Ricky Gervais. Like, who do you draw inspiration from? Who do you admire? Who do you look up to? Maybe it's some New Zealand comedians, who knows? But I mean, who are the big shots that you really look at and go, gosh, I love his material, and what are the reasons why?
That's such a good question. And it's funny that you named those four because I do love those four and I would go towards them. I like Chappelle because of his he's just so confident and he's so sure of himself, because I'm always kind of second guessing myself. I'm always worried, sometimes I don't think my jokes land and stuff like that. I'm sure he's like that too, but he just kind of carries it with such confidence. So I do find Chappelle really very, very inspiring.
Geez, that's interesting that you just mentioned that, because you come across so exactly like how you've just described Chappelle. You deliver it with absolute confidence, and there is not one thing in my mind that thinks that you're second guessing yourself. So I mean, that's interesting, isn't it? We never know what's going on in one's head, and it's all about delivery and that whole facade, right?
You got it.
That's interesting. Yeah.
And I guess it's the same with I like Jerry Seinfeld because I saw him perform live up here in Auckland. Did you go and manage to see him?
No, I did not. No.
It was sublime. It was his best hour of all his life work of comedy, and he was just it was perfect. And then Ricky Gervais is just, I love how he straddles the acting kind of thing, and he's not afraid to kind of delve into tragedy or into real truth. And I really appreciate that too. So I definitely say those guys. And in terms of New Zealanders, it would probably be more the acting kind of ones. Like I really like Jermaine Clement and Taika. So like the funny actors, and then Rhys Darby, of course, is an inspiration, and Billy T. James is amazing.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, Billy T it's so good. Yeah, well, how about the up and comers? Like Guy Montgomery. Where's this sort of new young blood market going? What are you thinking there? Melanie Bracewell, she's doing an Australian tour, isn't she?
Yeah, these guys, because I know them all personally, so we hang out socially, and those two, and then my friend Eli Matheson as well, and Chris Parker, they just work horses. They just inspire me with. I think the thing about stand-up comedians is that I don't know how you can get too big for your boots or to be cocky or arrogant being a stand-up comedian, because you're bashed down daily and you have to be you're just made humble every single day, every time you perform. And I'm just like, that the stand-up comedians are the nicest people I know of all the kind of art groups, and the most supportive and stuff, because they all know the game and they all know that you can fail so on a dime. And so these new up and comers, I'll just say, they really inspire me with how hard they work.
Yeah,
and by that I mean they take the gigs that are like 10 minutes in a pub in the middle of nowhere just to trial their material and stuff. They're workmen. Yeah,
doing gigs down at Matamata probably.
Yeah.
Anything that they can get. Hey, like, is Guy's voice socially? Is he putting that on, that classic sort of rural, or does he speak like that? The old or is that does he speak like that normally?
It's pretty much that. He would push it slightly when he's performing, but that's who he is. That's his voice.
Right. Yeah. Very good. Very good. Let's talk about the delivery of comedy. I mean, between racist, sexist, and political jokes. You know, where do you draw the line? Like, is there a line, or is it free reign? You know, when do you ever see either other comics just go too far and be like, oh no, that's nasty? When's it too soon? I noticed, you know, some comics are now throwing out Kobe Bryant jokes. You know, for you personally though, or do you have a line, if there is a line? And if not, yeah.
Really, really good question. I would find it awkward to do any racial material for me personally, just because I've worked with it. I mean, I've worked on many sides with, well, especially with Māori and Pacifica people and stuff like that. I'm like they've got enough struggles that it is. They don't need some privileged white dude spouting off his opinion on them. Absolutely not. So I think for me, the racial side of stuff, I just wouldn't go there. I think it's more for me, it's like when you take the piss out of someone, I think for me the line is, it's what they've done. So you can hate the sin but not the sinner. So if something's inherently, if it's their race, gender, any of that kind of stuff, sexuality, they don't have a choice in that. So it's hard, you shouldn't really take the piss out of that. But if they could be anyone, but if they've made some stupid been twits and made some stupid decision, then that's free reign to take the piss out of that, if they've been conscious of making those decisions. It kind of depends on the audience. Like, I think when I've done like late night stand-up shows, like line-up shows, I've always been the tamest one. Like, people just go out there and just leave everything on the floor and just be especially the 10 o'clock ones, they're just like so vile or crude or offensive, and it really lands with the audience because that's what the audience have signed up for. And so I'm like, oh, I admire your courage for doing that, but it just doesn't sit right with me. But you've got them laughing, so.
Yeah, good point there. Are you a huge fan of Tony Hinchcliffe's stuff? I mean, he's very direct and raw.
Yeah.
Absolutely been loving Kill Tony's show. I'm a huge fan.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
He could get away with murder, that man.
Yeah.
He says some brutal stuff that I'm like, wow.
Again, it's that kind of confidence in saying it. So you just kind of buy in. You're like, yes, that's right, correct. You're doing it so right. You seem so sure of yourself. It's really, yeah.
Super confident man. Yeah, he's done very well. Interesting. I mean, let's talk a little bit around COVID lockdown, not to get too nitty gritty, but I mean, have you learned anything about yourself during this very trying time? And if so, what have you learned characteristically?
Well, it's an interesting one, Luke. I learned, because things are opening up for me now and we can start working again. And the fact that people are offering me work, or I'm going out and working for people, has just, unfortunately, it has, my self-esteem has improved. So I've learned that I do require I guess that's like other people validating me. So unfortunately, validation has lifted my spirits. In terms of the lockdown, like I guess I'm in a privileged position where I don't have children. So it was a kind of a staycation, and I could just sit back and relax and enjoy myself and watch not DVDs, watch Netflix all day and read books.
Oh, Steve, so I need to pull that one up. It's okay, Tom, if you're still watching DVDs.
No, I don't. Don't look at my shelf. Don't look at my shelf.
Actually, hang on. Yeah, is that the old dude back there? Yeah, that's good. What's your favourite DVD at the moment, Tom?
Good call. I'm watching the latest Curb Your Enthusiasm, his latest series with Larry David, and I've just finished a New Zealand series called Black Hands, which was about the David Bain murder down in Dunedin. I just love that too.
Oh, very good. What do you think it is that's made Curb Your Enthusiasm so successful? I mean, Larry David, he's just so dry, isn't he? But what's your take on the success of...
Well, the reason I like him and my friends like him, the reason I like him is because I do have a lot of anxiety around like societal expectations and norms and things, but he throws all that up in the air and he just shows how ridiculous, behavior, like how we work as a society and being polite and all that kind of stuff. And he just kind of shines a light on it, and I think that's great. And he's so awkward. He makes such awkward situations, and I love it.
Yeah. Quick fire question here. UK
Yes.
office or US office, your favourite?
Oh, it's really very good question.
Tough one.
I'd have to say UK.
Oh, thank you for saying that. If you said US, I'd probably just cut the show. I would have to.
Yeah,
sorry,
where are you?
I'd blame it on technical difficulties. You can't fault Ricky Gavot. But nonetheless, the US version is not bad too.
No, it's pretty good. It makes me laugh a lot. But the UK one is just so spot on for human observation.
Absolutely, big time. Let's be honest. I mean, you are a C-class celebrity here in New Zealand. Do you get stopped in the street, and how do you manage that with your ego? Obviously, you've got a huge following on your Instagram stories. Obviously, people recognise you. How do you keep a level head with that and not just absolutely blow up?
Well, okay, really good call. I think that whenever there's been a slight hint of me getting a big head, like like, for example, I do a show. I did the show where I was getting all these universally glowing reviews of my performance. And then I got the very last review that I didn't read until a week afterwards. And, I'd walk out after the show feeling so great. And then this review came out saying that I was a poor man's Ned Flanders. And like, that was just like, oof, that was like a review that really kind of brought me down to size. So I've never had everything I do has its naysayers, so I'm always kind of brought down. People who come up and see me, like come up and talk to me in the streets and stuff, are invariably lovely people, because the thing about doing social media is that they choose to follow you. So it's not like you're being shoved into someone's face all the time. So they choose to follow me, and they're always wonderfully lovely.
Yeah, fantastic. Are we expecting to see you on Dancing with the Stars anytime soon, or?
Look, I do love dancing, so if the question comes, I'll take it.
Very good. Very good. Thomas Sainsbury, that's all we've got time for today. Thank you for coming on the Luke Farr Show to motivate, educate, and inspire our next generation of leaders. It's been an absolute pleasure and a privilege to have you on the show. Thank you very much.
Thank you for having me. And I love the health of your pot plant.
Yes, well, I'll pass that on. Thank you very much. Yeah, awesome. Actually, yeah. Hey, thanks, Thomas. Thank you so much. Actually, we've got a number one fan here.
Hi.
No.
I just have to say I love your cat videos. Gingerbread, dropkick husband, awesome.
I'll let him know. I don't know if he'll be impressed, but I'll let him know.
Oh, okay. With the rolling eyes.
Oh,
there it is.
Very good. Awesome.
You got it.
Hey, thanks so much, man. Appreciate it. We'll be in touch.
No worries.
Cheers.
Be in touch.
Yep. Talk soon. See ya. Bye.
Awesome.